You're live.
All right.
Get back up a little bit.
Oh boy. Hi, my name is Susan,
I'm Cam.
and we're from Road Races. I feel like we should do those. Of course, we're from Road Races. We do live streams every once in a while. We're going to resist that trend, right?
Yes.
All right. So we, as you may or may not know, we put out year-end surveys at the end of every season because we are constantly looking to get better, to learn things, to see, what you guys think and how we can improve. And so what you may not know is all of the responses are anonymous. So we never know who's responded so that we can kind of address the issues directly. So we kind of had this idea that, Cam kind of compiled some of the questions that we get asked the most. We thought we would just kind of answer them here. I will say I've not seen any of these questions that he's going to ask me because we wanted it to be a little spontaneous. Authentic, yes. So we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I'm going to do a good job trying to speak for the people here. There was a bunch of responses. I think we got almost up to 50 on our survey, so it was good. Compiled a couple questions I have here. We're going to talk to the race director, see what she has to say here. All righty. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. So one of the first questions we have on course is, most of these questions are based on course at most of our race events. So the first one is, what needs to be done in order for there to be multiple porta potties at certain aid stations? A lot of the times people get in there and sometimes it takes a little bit for a porta potty session and it adds some minutes onto their time, or maybe a couple at just a couple of aid stations throughout.
Sure. So as you may or not know, we do have eight. We do always put aid stations at every. We do put porta potties at every aid station. A lot of how many we put there is dependent upon the location and the neighborhood. I'm sure you can understand if there was an aid station kind of in your neighborhood, you wouldn't love it. So we do try to be very cognizant of the residents and where the locations are, knowing that the porta potty companies generally drop them off the night before. They try to pick them up that race day, but residents don't really want to have multiple porta potties in their front yard for extended periods of time. So normally it's very, very good. So knowing, this was addressed in our year-end survey, there are certain areas that we can put a couple extras. Mostly they are in the first ones because people may not have had a chance to go to the bathroom in the beginning, or once they get started, they may need to go to. So we will look forward to getting more porta potties in like the first couple aid stations.
Okay. So the next question is another popular question. I know you've had it a lot already here. The 5K people, they're looking for some sort of reward, whether that's a medal, some sort of award for their 5K. Speak on that.
Yes, we do get this question a lot. I will tell you that I have been a runner for 30 years. So I tend to go with the old school thinking and that it's a finisher medal. And I know for a lot of people, a 5K is a big deal. But traditionally, a finisher medal was only given to full and half marathon finishers. So that's kind of where we've gone with that. We do provide lots of age group awards. We still give T-shirts and all the other amenities. But it's my old school belief is that it's a finisher medal is for half and full marathons.
Okay. If not for a medal, how could they be rewarded possibly?
The T-shirts are certainly an example of how you can show off. You're going to wear a T-shirt a lot more often than you're going to wear your medal around your neck to show that you have finished a race.
True. Very true. Another popular question that was amongst the survey from certain crowds. A lot of the times we do have beer events, beer tents, beer gardens, and they are very popular amongst the race. Why is that sometimes at most events we can't have these beer gardens?
So we know that, and I'm probably going to speak to Mike Proto directly, although I don't know if he would watch this. Yes, we would love to have beer gardens at the end of our events. We know how popular they are, how important they are. But all the reasons that we don't is because the municipality will not let us. So Newport, I think, is the only one that we can actually have a beer garden in. Bristol does not allow us to do it. Jamestown certainly does not allow us to do it. And ironically, Narragansett, with their Narragansett logo, does not allow us to have a beer garden, unfortunately. So what we try to do is we try to compensate for not having that right on site and finding local breweries and restaurants that will host the post-race party for us. For example, in Bristol, Pivotal has been a good partner for us, and they host our post-race party. We partner with Sons of Liberty as well down in Narragansett. So even if we can't give you a beer right at the finish line, we will certainly try to find a local brewery or restaurant that can accommodate that post-race party.
Okay. So like the main reason is because the town won't permit
Correct.
Alcohol usage.
Yep.
Another question coming in from the more family perspective. A lot of people have their spouses or their children at these events, and a lot of people don't know the course super well, so they're trying to entertain their kids at these events, especially around the finish line, the start line. This person was specifically asking if there could be any improvements on that post-race atmosphere, like specific booths or people we could set up with to provide that more entertaining atmosphere at the finish line.
Sure. Yes, we can certainly. We're going to work on that a little bit more. We're actually trying to see if we can get some cornhole games. Um, I will say this year wasn't the best year for that because it rained every single race we had this year.
And it did.
Every single race we had it rained on this year. So we can definitely do a little bit more of that. Again, a lot of the facilities that we use don't set up very well for that. For example, in Bristol, because we share the space with the concerts, we cannot set anything up the night before, and we have to be broken down and out of there by 11 a.m., which means we have to get everything set up between, 4 a.m. and the race start at 6:30 a.m. So there doesn't allow for a lot of extra festivities at that race, although there's tons of stuff that goes on in Bristol that time of year. Newport, yes, we're looking at doing a little bit more there. We might have a little bit more room in the parking lot this year because we've had to tweak the course slightly because of the demolition down at Easton's. Fort Getty, unfortunately, we're restricted by the number of people that we can have there by the town of Jamestown. So that one doesn't really set up very well. But Narragansett, I think as the race continues to grow, we do get more and more interest. So like this year, in spite of the rain, we had some good vendors, we had some soup. So yes, and we are going to invest a little bit more in some games and things that we can bring ourselves.
Okay. Next question is, how could maybe the morning of or even the day before pack and pickup speed be increased? A lot of people have complaints about the speed of it, whether that could be maybe 2 locations for the bid pickup, just something to increase the speed, especially the morning of. I know that line can get quite long.
So in the last year or so, we've actually just changed to dynamic bid pickup, which has reduced the bid pickup time like a crazy amount. So now we're not like searching through bibs. Now we're not searching through bib list. Literally, and so it means we don't assign bibs in advance. So literally, you come to the check-in desk. You should either have your QR code available, which like if you have your QR code up and ready, we scan it, we check your ID, your registration's pulled right up, and we just give you a bib and we sign it right there. And then the whole transaction should take less than 5 seconds. So it's a little bit of like things that we're working on our end. And we'll send out those QR codes the morning of the first bid pickup so that you can have them up and ready. But some of it's on the participants. Have your QR code, have your ID ready. So as soon as you approach the table, we scan it, assign your bib, and off you go.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the biggest decrease in speed is some people just not being properly prepared for that morning of, and just creates more questions and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then one of the last.
I'm just going to follow up with that. So a lot of times as we're trying to check people in, people have lots of questions, and that can obviously delay the whole process as well. We try to respond to any questions within 24 hours. So our suggestion is if you have any questions, please reach out to us in advance of the race, and we're happy to answer them for you. Race morning is very chaotic. We are trying to get everybody checked in on time. So the goal is to just assign your bib, get you off and going. If you have questions, reach out now, reach out, in the week before the race, and not in the day or two before the race because we're generally not in front of our computer then. But we will answer your questions lickety split in the weeks before the race.
Where can you be reached?
info@roadraces.us.
All righty. And then the last question, I know this is another tough one. What can we do as a company to improve our parking options? Parking can be a major issue, whether that's getting more parking options through small businesses or the town. The people feel that parking does need to be improved at some of our races.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Most of our races are at very popular locations. Easton's Beach, very popular. Narragansett Town Beach, very popular. So we're also dealing with some of the residents that live, rightfully so, have access to those parking lots as well. In Narragansett, I think we can do a better job of signing because even once those 2 parking lots do fill up, there's plenty of parking along the beach road, on street, down in Narragansett. Like Narragansett hosts thousands and thousands of people on summer weekends. So there's certainly plenty of space for all of our runners, but we can definitely do a better job in Narragansett. Out in Newport, unfortunately, there's the only solution that we have is shuttles. Particularly now, the demolition, those parking lots are going to be used by construction equipment. So there is plenty of parking out in Second Beach. There's plenty of parking at the industrial park, but there's no parking at Easton's Beach, unfortunately. So that is going to stay as a shuttle-based option. Bristol, again, they host thousands of people during the summer concert series. So, and that race is relatively small for us. So that one, lots of on-street parking. We can do a better job, I think, of putting where those on-street parking options are on our website. Fort Getty is a trickier one. Again, we are restricted by the town as far as the parking area available to us. Even though it's in a campground, there looks like there's lots of available parking. The town of Jamestown is very specific as far as the plot of land that we can park in, which is one of the reasons that we have to limit it. That's the main reason we actually have to limit the participants and the spectators and the vendors that we can have in that Fort Getty. That's the only way that we're able to still hold the race there, is to abide by their restrictions. So, that's what we do, so we can keep having it.
Yeah, parking is always an issue, and I think it always will be. It's just the manner of some of our races. We host so many people that it's tough to find that many cars for spots.
Yeah, I will say too is that because they are in such beautiful locations, the races are very popular. Especially Newport has become like a real destination race for us. We are actually going to cap that race this year at 4,000 people. We're probably going to sell out. I think we only have 80 spots left in the marathon. I hesitate to say this because it does sound a little elitist, but because they are in such beautiful locations, you just have to add parking as part of your race day timeline. So there is available parking, but you can't arrive at the race a half an hour beforehand, even an hour beforehand. You should plan at least 90 minutes before the start of the race to find your parking. In some cases, load shuttles, walk, whatever it may be. Just because these races, they sell out, they fill up, and they are becoming very destination races. So just add some time to your race day for that.
All right, that's all the FAQs that I currently have. Do you have any you would like to contribute?
I can't think of anything. I feel like the beer garden's always been a big one. I think there was a question about massage. OPT, Pappas OPT will be back again this year with us, providing post-race massages. So that's always great.
How about
dogs and strollers are always a big one too.
Yeah.
We can't have dogs and strollers as part of our insurance.
One of the first things I learned in my race director course that didn't make much sense to me, but now it does.
Yep, you can't have dogs and strollers. Dogs and strollers are welcome at the post-race festival, except for the wine run. We just learned that today because Westport restricts dogs to certain areas, and that's not part of our festival area. But just again, we are on open, and I guess a lot of questions too as to why can't we close roads?
Yeah.
We get that question a lot. We would love to. We would love to close roads. It would certainly make our life a lot easier. But again, Rhode Island is a very small state, and we share it with a lot of people. It's probably one of the most congested states in the union, I would think. And so we are never allowed to close roads. So we do our best to create cone running lanes, but there just isn't. Oh, and Bristol too. We get that question a lot in Bristol.
Yeah.
Can we go back to Cold State Park and use the bike path? In Bristol, DEM has prevented us from using Cold State Park and the bike path during their busy time of year, which is from Memorial Day to Labor Day. We would love to use it again. Running through Cold State Park is very beautiful. It's much easier logistically for sure. But DEM has told us that we can no longer operate a race between Memorial Day and Labor Day. So our choice was to either change the course or change the date. But because it's part of the 4th of July celebration, it has to be within the 2-week window of the 4th of July celebration. So we had to find a new course. So right to your DEM people, that we have tried and tried and tried and tried. But unfortunately, they would not let us do that. So that's why we run. Although I don't mind, I like Bristol. For those that don't know, Cam and I both coach at the high school. So Cam was on the cross country team at the high school. I coach the cross country team now. Those roads that you run on for that race, those are all our running routes for cross country. So it was you get to see more of the town versus the state-owned property, which is Cold State Park, which in partnership with the 4th of July, it kind of makes a little more sense. And you do get to see some parts of Bristol that you would only get to see by foot which I think is very cool as well.
Yeah, it goes right through the Roger Williams campus right there, and I think it's a very beautiful course.
Yeah.
Um, and last question I think I can think of off my head is, what are some age group awards that people can look forward to this year? Are the cutting boards going to be making a comeback, or are we getting a little switch up this year?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that because Karen handles all that, so I'm not sure. I will say the cutting boards are really, really popular. We used to switch the age group awards around a lot, but people really seem to love the cutting board, so we might just stick with that one. I mean, when you win an age group award, you want to have something that you can kind of, humble brag about it.
Mhm.
So rather than like a medal that hangs up in your garage, you get to have this cool cutting board. Like, oh, let's have cheese and wine, and we'll serve it on my age group award cutting board, which is kind of neat. And so we use them all the time too, because like the ones that are dated, obviously we can't give out anymore. So we always seem to have lots of extra cutting boards hanging around. So I mean, they're great cutting boards. We do
Yeah.
use them quite a bit.
Yeah, they definitely are. If you have any suggestions, we're always open to suggestions. So leave it in the comments or send us a message on any social media.
Yeah.
But that's all I have. I don't
Yeah.
know about you.
No, I think, and we do like if you we always try to change and improve and learn. So we're always open. Like as I mentioned, even some of the things that we do are based on runner suggestions, participant suggestions. So always, hit us up. Feel free to reach out to us, give us your thoughts, what you love, what you hate, and we will do our best to continue to improve.
Yeah. So make sure to follow us, all of our social medias, Instagram, X, TikTok,
X.
Facebook, all of the social medias. Make sure to follow us. Stay tuned to our YouTube channel. I'm trying to post a lot more onto this YouTube channel. We're trying to get our numbers back up and going on that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions after this live stream, you can still comment on this YouTube video. It will still be up. And yeah, info@Rhode Races. That customer service line is open. We'll answer it within 24 hours. And yeah, thank you for tuning in today.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you soon. I should ask.